Before Jon English comes up, this is Jon English and his wife Stella. And they're coming from Wichita, Kansas. He was born and raised here in Bakersfield, Kern County. I'll let him tell you that story. But as I was thinking about him coming today and just sharing with you guys, I was thinking about his life and what he's done with his life and where he started and how it goes. And I thought about my life and life of my friends and family and my wife. And, I was just thinking about, when this whole world's over and we're doing the next version of the world and we're gone from this one, doesn't matter how good we were at sports or Fortnite or music or making money or going out and hanging out or doing whatever. What matters most is the things that matter most to you guys, and that's your family and your friends. And that's taking care of each other and really loving people. And did we leave the world a better place than when we came into it? Because we're all going to go through stuff and stuff's going to go down that none of us expected. But at the end of the day, we have the opportunity to try to get better every day. And that's what I love about Jon's story, is that it's never ending. All of our stories are never ending. Nobody's ever arrived at some perfect version of themselves. We're always getting better. But if we can just focus on our family and friends and trying to love them as much as possible and just being the person that when we do pass, they don't say, oh, that guy was a good dresser, or he was a good musician, or they were a good game player, or they were a good athlete, but they say, when I was with them, I was loved, and they love people. So with that, I give you my friend Jon English, who will be performing tomorrow night at Salty's. There we go.
All right. Thank you for having me to be here with you. So I met a few of you, Connor and George and Letitia. Letitia or Leticia? Leticia. And what is your name? Juan? Hey, I can remember that. John Juan. And you are? Jordan? Jordy. Oh, like Jordy Nelson. Go Pack Go. Hey. And you're? Chris? Mariah? Jesus? Ian. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to remember any of those names. But I still wanted to say hi. But so, kind of give you a brief idea of who I am and what I came from. I was born in the county hospital here at Kern General back in the day. Now it's KMC at Flower and Mount Vernon on the east side in 1965. I know I don't look that old, but I really am. And the lady that gave birth to me, she had three other boys that were my older brothers, my siblings. I was the baby, and so she was very neglectful. The father, he bailed before I was born, so I never met him ever. And I knew who he was eventually later on because my three older brothers met him and hung out with him and whatever, that happened. But so anyways, what happens is the services came in because she was kind of neglectful, kind of that situation. She was young when she got pregnant. I think she was 20 when she had me, if I remember right. And she already had three boys before that. Her first child was born when she was 15. So anyways, services came in, took us, and I was in foster homes from the age of 8 months until I was about 4 and a half. And she went through what she needed to do to get cleaned up and become a productive adult. And the foster services gave us back to her, and that was in 1969. So 70, somewhere around there. And so she had me for about maybe 6 months, I think, if I really researched and gave it thought. She was a farm laborer. My biological family were migrant workers, and they would travel Nevada, Arizona, California, and work in the fields, in garlic fields, onion fields, potato fields. So I got to know them a little bit back then, and eventually what happened was I was going to Virginia Avenue School out on the east side. I was in kindergarten, and one night she just comes in. We were living in a motel on the corner of Edison Highway and Sterling. And she just comes in and says, hey, she tells us, she's putting us to bed, and we have a mattress. That's all we had in our bedroom, and 4 of us would all sleep on this mattress. And she just said, look, if I'm not here in the morning, don't go running blankety blank around the neighborhood and acting like a fool and all this stuff. She goes, you just stay right here. Like, well, we don't give it no thought. And so next morning we wake up, she's gone. Everything we had or she had you cleared out that night. All the groceries, all the everything. So we hung out for most of the day at this place, and we would run the streets. We'd jump on the rail cars. She had a boyfriend that taught us how to get on the rail cars there on Edison, because when they pull out of Bakersfield, they're going real slow. So he taught us how to jump rail cars, and we would literally ride them all the way up to Tehachapi, to where they would slow down and do whatever changes they were doing, and then we get on another one and catch it back. And I was just 4 years old. There was no supervision whatsoever. So it's a miracle I didn't get myself killed. But that's what we did. You know, we were just rambunctious, crazy, snot-nosed kids. And so then we went back into the system. And, you know, I experienced a lot of stuff, which, who all here is aged out foster youth? So I don't have to delve into experiences because you lived the same thing I lived. And so what I want to leave with you today, this is the important part, and he actually touched on it, and it doesn't matter if you become a songwriter that tours the world and all this stuff and all that. It doesn't matter if you're a fantastic athlete. All of that doesn't matter, or you're very wealthy or whatever. What matters is the connection and the love that you convey, and you work with people and build those bonds and friendships. So I was thinking, last year I talked about overcoming in spite of, and that's still something that's huge in my life, because that's what motivated me when I was a young man. So I got to the place where I decided, in spite of all this crap, I'm not going to let that destroy my future. Once I realized I had control over my future, then I went in a positive direction. But the reason I was able to go in that positive direction was because I didn't have Covenant Community Services when I was a kid. It was actually just coaches at the high school, teachers in the school, in the elementary, junior high, and high school. So a friend of mine, every time I come into Bakersfield, because we moved out about 3-4 years ago, and I'd come and visit the kids. I got kids and grandbabies, and they're awesome. And so I'd get together with some of my high school friends that I went to school with, and they were close friends that were very influential in my life at a very pivotal time. One of them, his name is Jose Cantu, and we called him Joe. And so we got together last week, like we always do, a bunch of us guys, and Joe made this statement during the time we were all talking about our high school days, our glory days. I actually became a really good athlete in the Valley, in cross country and track and field back in the 80s, decades ago. And Joe said this, he said, hey, you know, I seen Vince Delgado the other day, and we were talking, and he goes, and Vince knew me when I was in elementary and junior high. Vince was the class above me. And he said, Vincent, man, he said, Jon English has come a long ways, because man, when he was in school, he was a nutcase. And he said, and it's like, he told Joe, he said, but when he got in high school, he just did a 180 and became this totally different person. And I thought about that. I was like, yeah, you know, that's true. When I was in junior high and grade school, I always got in fights. I never felt like I belonged. You always feel like an outsider. That's the beauty of being abandoned and everything, is you always got that feeling. Do people really accept me? Am I ever going to be accepted? Am I ever going to be a part of anything? And so I got in these fights. I do crazy stuff. I'm not going to get into all of it. I mean, stuff that it's just insane. I mean, absolutely. I get kicked out of the school. The principal beat my butt. I'd come back. I'd do something stupid, get kicked out of school. Principal beat my butt, because back then they could whip you in schools. So Vince was conveying this, you know, to Joe. He's like, I remember Johnny. Well, my name was Johnny. So I remember Johnny doing this stupid, crazy stuff all the time. And he said, when he got in high school, it changed. Well, what happened was a couple of things. One, I had an 8th grade teacher that really cared about me. I didn't know it when I was in 8th grade. I had no clue. I was still just this crazy kid. I get into high school my freshman year, and they put me in these college prep classes. And I'm like, you know, I've been to psychiatrists. They send me to the psychiatrist, you know, trying to figure out what's wrong with Johnny. Back then they used the term retardation, but I guess you can't do that. But that's what they branded me as. I was mentally retarded. all this stuff. So I had all this stigma, and I just, after a while, accepted. That's who I am. You know, screw the world. I'm nobody. I don't care. But they put me in this college prep class, and I'm like, what am I doing here? I remember the first day of my freshman year at Arvin High School. I'm with all these smart, bright kids, and a couple of them I went to school with in junior high because I knew they were smart. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I couldn't understand it. So I went to my counselor and I said, I think you guys made a mistake. You put me in the wrong class. I don't belong. I'm not smart. I don't know what's going on here, because I felt it was real awkward, and I just like, I don't know. So she said, well, we're going to set up a meeting. I was adopted, by the way, when I was 10 years old. Life didn't get really better, unfortunately. But hey, I got a last name, which I cherish out of that. But so the counselor got a hold of my adopted dad. He came in, and my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Dake. And Mrs. Dake simply just said, you know, young man, you got all this energy, and you have so much talent. She goes, the stuff you do. She goes, I see it. You have such a capability to really make something of yourself. And she said, you're in those classes because you are a smart young man. You're mischievous, you're rambunctious, you're out of control at times. She said, but you really have something up there, and you can do something with your life. Just apply it. You're in the classes because that's where you belong. That flipped a switch in my mind, because for the first time, I didn't feel like, it's just, lip service, or just saying this, just, get me through their school year. She's no longer my 8th grade teacher. She's come to the high school to meet with me and my counselor, my adopted dad, to tell me, you belong here. The other thing that happened was I got into athletics. That made a tremendous difference, because then through the sports, I learned camaraderie. You're part of something. The coaches, I had a coach, Ruben Ramirez, which Randy knows him. Coach Ramirez, who was my wrestling coach. I never wrestled in my life, my freshman year. And there's a story behind that. I won't bore you with it, but I ended up wrestling, and I actually was pretty decent. But Coach Ramirez is one of those mentors that took and instilled in me self-respect and all of that. So I remember thinking to myself one day, I just thought to myself, I'm not gonna go down this road no more of being crazy, class clown, carrying on, and getting in fights and being stupid. I'm not gonna let my past affect me in a negative way. I'm gonna take and determine what I want to do with my life from this moment on. And I did. But it was because people cared. And the opportunities that were given to me is somewhat similar to opportunities given to you right now. Like I said, when I was a kid, there was no Covenant Community Services. It was basically, I had 2 brothers that were aged out. One became a heroin addict and almost died. Thankfully, that was years ago. He's all clean, and all my brothers are doing good. They started their own families, but it's kind of a cycle, sadly. I've got nephews and nieces and fallen into the system over situations and bad choices. Where with me, what happened to me, I was just fortunate that not only was the opportunities given to me, but I had at least enough sense to go, hey, these are some opportunities where I can change my life for the better, and basically break that cycle of abandonment. And that's what I did. And it wasn't because something special about me. It was only because I recognized that these people do care. And it's hard. I get that. It's real hard to see that somebody really does care about me, or now they're in this for some other motive. They're only doing this for a paycheck or something like that. And that's how sometimes it is. But the essence of my whole life has been, there's always been somebody there. It seems like every situation, I could take this path or that path, there was somebody there to kind of nudge me or give me good advice, sound advice. And you have that here. You have Randy and Kim and everyone else involved with the services. And you guys are here because you made those decisions that you do want to have a better life. I don't know all your stories. Some of you, I like to hear them, get to know you. Because the way I look at it is this way, we're all family. That's my family. I realized one day, my family is all the kids, brothers and sisters that have been abandoned. That's my family. That's what I was born into. And so that's why when the time came and music started happening, that record label said, well, you got to come up with a logo. Okay. So my oldest daughter, she's a tattoo artist. She's done my ink. And I told her, she came up with this really great logo. The logo is, if you look it up online, it's a drawing from a picture of me when I was in kindergarten at Virginia Avenue. That's the earliest photo exists of me. I have no baby pictures. It's just that kindergarten picture. And that's when I became officially an orphan. So she took that and she decided that's my dad's band logo. She drew this up. I sent it to the record label. They loved it. And then a friend of mine, an elder gentleman, and he's battling cancer right now, and I love him to death. His name is Carlos Weaver. One day, several years ago, he's like, hey, you're in a blues band, you gotta have a nickname. All blues artists have nicknames. And I go, man, I don't know, Jon English, that's it. And he goes, no, you were an orphan. I think they should call you Orphan John. So all right. When I was a kid, I didn't want nobody to know I was a foster kid. That was a lot of the headaches I dealt with in school, because once they found out you were that foster kid, oh, outsider, weird kid, what's wrong with you, and all that stuff, which some of you probably experienced that in school too. So I accepted that. I was like, all right, I'm gonna run with this. I'm gonna take that negative crap from my youth that I didn't ask to go through, and I'm gonna take that and turn it around and make it a positive for my life and my children, our children, and our grandbabies. And so that's how it became out the Orphan John. And then I was like, well, my band, we're gonna call ourselves the Abandoned. So it's Orphan John and the Abandoned. Mm-hmm. And it's opened up a lot of opportunities when I'm touring, because people always ask, hey, I'm just curious, where'd the Orphan John, or they'll ask one of the guys in the band, where'd the Orphan John come from? So it gives us opportunity to explain to them that I was an orphan and leave them with a positive story once they leave the shows, which is kind of cool. And music's done that for me. It's been very therapeutic. If you can find me on Spotify if you wanted to listen to some of their songs. Every song I've written to date is personal. It's about my life. It's about our lives. I tell people all those pretty love songs is about my wife Stella. All the horrible ones about abandonment, that's about my mom Polly. So, I get those inspirations, but it's given me an opportunity to express myself. So that's what music's done for me. But I just want you guys to know that I love you. I think what's going on here is just amazing. This is opportunities, and you guys are, I don't use the terms hero. It's not really hero. You guys are inspirational. Because you decided, I'm not going to let my life go to hell over what I didn't have control over as a child. You decided, I'm going to do something with my life and make something of myself and start your own families and all that. That's what I did, and I commend you on that. Just keep doing it. Keep talking to Randy and Kim and everybody. You're going to have bumps in the road, like he said. That's life. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have struggles, you're going to have victories. It's just, but keep moving forward. And that's why my whole theme of my life has been in spite of. And that's what it's all about. Motivate yourself by the negative that happened and use it as a positive motivation. Keep moving forward. And always be open-minded. Always take things to heart, the advice, even if it's advice you wish you didn't have to hear. They mean well. They want to see you succeed as much as you want to succeed. So that's what's great about this program. And so when I got older, I'll leave you with this. So when I got, actually not older, but when I got rolling and signed to a record label and all this stuff, I always wanted to be able to come back and help foster youth, because I have siblings that were in the system. I have cousins that are in the system and all that. So I know all about it. I was in it. I was like, I want to do something to help them. And and honestly, it was an act of God, how we discovered Covenant Community Services. And I could tell you about that person. I won't take up much time on that. But it was literally an act of God. It's like how everything kind of just happened just right at the right time. And I contacted Randy and said, this is who I am. I hope you don't think I'm a crazy guy, but I have this band, I'm doing this thing, and I want to help out. I'm from Bakersfield, born here, raised in the area, and I want to help out. So we started talking, and we came up with this Covenant Community Services benefit, Covenant Community Concert benefit, to help bring more awareness to the community. And however I can, from whatever notoriety I've got, is just to help out and give back. And my thing is, like I said, you're family. So to me, it's like I want to help my family. Yeah, if I was filthy rich, I'd be like handing out, money left and right, because just the way I am, she can tell you, I love helping people, and I love what you guys are doing here with you guys, and so we started this. Pandemic happened. All right, no big deal. We'll just keep pressing forward, because that's in my my makeup. I don't give up. I never would give up, because in spite of, I'm going to prove Polly I made something of my life. I'm going to prove to Jack Sarnowski, who was my biological father, I made something of my life. And I'm going to prove to myself that I can make something of my life. And that's what I've done. But I've had those headaches. So it hasn't been easy. She can tell you. She deals with some of my crazy stuff still. But this benefit is about you guys. It's what it's always been about, is to bring awareness to you and the future foster youth that are aged out coming into the program, because you guys need help. I mean, it's not nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to feel embarrassed about. It's just, that's life. That's what you were dealt. That's how it happened. This is who you are. You are an important person. You have personalities. You have heart and souls, and you are to me, you're amazing, because hey, you weren't raised in this perfect little environment. And you still overcame after all of that. And here you are, still overcoming. And so I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys can make it to the benefit. I've got some friends coming out that's going to be performing too, and you'll get to see me gyrate around, and you'll be like, wait a minute, that's that bald-headed guy? No way. But yeah, that's the one thing that's, when I was a kid, I always got sent to the office because I was and I can say this because they said I was very spastic. And I would be very disruptive in class. I mean, I do some really bad stuff. So anyways, they sent me to the office. I remember my third grade teacher, Miss Anderson, tell me one time, you're going to amount to nothing, because you won't sit still, you won't listen, you da-da-da-da. I'm a little 9-year-old boy. She's telling me all this stuff, and it's kind of funny. The irony is now I'm a 50-something-year-old boy, and I've still got all that energy. Now I use it to entertain people. So it did turn out to be a positive thing in the end. So come out and be with us, and let's have a good barbecue together and enjoy the evening and all that. And you guys just keep going forward. Don't ever stop. I shouldn't say, you don't ever go back. You may stop, you have to take a breather, recalibrate things, figure out what you need to do, but keep moving forward. And thank you for having me, and Randy and Kim and everybody. I appreciate it. So I do want to talk to you guys, anybody. I'd love to hear your story, because something Randy mentioned, which I always say to people, we all have a story. There's no competitions, there's none of that. And I can only tell mine, and that's what I tell. But you guys have stories that are, what you went through and survived, and that's just as important to you as mine is to me, is who we are. And that's made us into who we are today. So I'd like to talk to you, meet you personally, give you a hug if you don't mind, and let you know I love you. And let's have a fun time. If you guys can make it tomorrow night, I hope you can. So that's it.